Buddy Rich, Max Roach, Elvin Jones, past innovators and new orchestrations. Tonight's topic will focus on the presentation of research to acknowledge the pivotal role jazz drumming had to the compositional as well as rhythmic development of the idiom. The fact that certain signature rhythms exist within the idiom is well documented. However, the most significant research yet to be presented centers on the topic of how the rhythms, as well as the innovative drummers delivering these rhythms, affected the overall development of jazz at each significant juncture. This presentation will examine the three most influential drummers of the jazz age: Buddy Rich, Max Roach, and Elvin Jones, the historical timeline in which they appear, the similarities and differences they had with each other, and the stylistic advances made to jazz music at each moment in time will provide the research to recognize that drumming can be and has been both a vehicle for the advancement of rhythmic permutation as well as a source for song form, structure, and compositional development. If we use Buddy Bolden's early 1900s jazz band as a starting reference, jazz in the 21st century is a synthesis of the rhythmic, harmonic, compositional, and instrumental developments of the last 100+ years. From the rhythmic perspective, the melding of assorted effects and drums into the configuration we refer to today as the drum set has allowed drummers to prevail as an integral component of this synthesis and transformation. The functionality of the drum, moving from the military and parade-style use of the snare drum as accompaniment to the stage effects and novelty application of the trap set, to the development and contribution of the contemporary drum set, has allowed the role of the drummer to change from sideman and timekeeper to band leader, arranger, and composer. As early as the 1930s, it became clear that the innovations stemming from certain pivotal musicians enabled arrangers as well as composers to expand their boundaries of musical conception. The hot big bands of the day soon found it necessary to use a skilled arranger whose job became an all-important function in the making of big band jazz. While small group jazz allowed the musicians to freely improvise over a basic song form, formal structure became necessary when bringing together large groups of musicians. Although improvisation in solos was still allowed, the arranger organized the written music, assigning both the sectional parts and dictating when solos were to be taken. Whereas drummers had been strictly timekeepers or noisemakers, as we just heard, arrangers began to expand the role of the drummer to the arrangement by writing specific accompanying parts while encouraging improvisation with other musicians. Let's take a look at the slide. Here we see a sample score page. This excerpt represents the advances being made in arranging techniques harmonically, rhythmically, and compositionally. In the second staff, you see a notated spot for the alto saxophone solo. Under this part, you see the sectional parts written for saxophones, trumpets, and trombones, with the rhythm section parts of piano, guitar, bass, and drums found on the lower three staves. Note that the drums in the lower staff are written to accent the kicks and melodies, not just for keeping time. Later, the role of the drums would expand even further. Throughout his tenure as sideman, as well as leading his own bands into the late 1970s, Rich must be credited for promoting this new style of hard-driving jazz. His need for aggressive, complex arrangements, quest for precision, and demand for excellence promoted the importance and incorporation of drumming to the collective arranged jazz concept, as well as the mutual improvisation within the ensemble. I will now perform a live demonstration of Rich's technique as it is applied to my own arrangement of On Green Dolphin Street, C letter D. While the horn kicks are played, I will construct a solo in rudimental style using a variety of techniques utilized by Rich. Now remember that it was this technical mastery of drumming application facilitated by Rich that continued to bring the drum set from the background into the foreground. As a result, the drum set began receiving the recognition it deserved and the attention needed to be considered a viable member of the arranging and compositional palette. There is no doubt that the technological advances made to the drum set, coupled with the inspirational drumming styles of these great innovators, both rhythmically, tonally, and texturally, helped provide the impetus for much of the ingenuity being conceived in jazz. Certain compositions, arrangements, and quite possibly certain artists themselves would not have achieved their notoriety without the advancements of the drummer. Coming up, the new orchestrations portion of this research will provide score analysis profiling each drummer's innovative contributions to the arrangement and compositional aspects of the music. Although time and musical tastes have changed since the golden age of jazz, the innovations of Rich, Roach, and Jones remain evident to this day. For the new orchestrations, textural and tonal considerations were closely examined and scored carefully to produce a varied and interesting arrangement of both original and standard tunes indicative of each musician's style. Unison octaves, 2- and 3-part independent writing, 3- and 4- and 5-part harmonizations, close and spread voicings, rhythmicized and harmonized guide tone lines, mixed instrumentation, the use of shout and tutti writing, including the enhanced use of the drum set, were some of the techniques used to produce a well-balanced and varied concert lineup. For Buddy Rich, I have chosen to adapt and arrange the standard tune On Green Dolphin Street, written by Bronislaw Kaper, to feature a saxophone trio using the timbre of the saxophones to offer a new twist to the usual Rich style. As a leader, Rich's hard-hitting big bands have become legendary. The following arrangement will capture the essence of his exciting style.